Here we go. Good morning, everyone. It's just on 10 o'clock or half a minute or 1 minute past 10. And we're just watching all the registrations come in and join us for this webinar today. So thanks everyone for registering for the webinar. Just right up front, there will be a recording. So if you have to, if you didn't make it today or have to leave early, or you're a late arrival and you missed some of the gems at the beginning, don't worry, we'll be sending out a link later on today so that you can watch it at your leisure. And our special guest today is Becky Derrick from Mint Design. And good morning, Becky, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today, Jamie?
Well, I'm not so bad. It's a bit miserable outside. I think it's like that for the whole country. Bit of rain and bit of snow around the place here. So thanks for coming along today and sharing your LinkedIn knowledge and your LinkedIn journey. But before I'd start, I just want to make a big shout out to E3 Business Accountants who offer their financial support to make the Brainstorm webinars possible. The Brainstorm Cafe is not-for-profit entity offering Kiwi business owners support and advice and help through tough times. And for a lot of you out there, we're going through some pretty tough times. Sure, a big chunk of the land mass of this country is at level 2, but we really understand those in Auckland. And we've got, I'm just looking at the screen coming in here now, a lot of people in Auckland have joined this webinar, and we know that under level 4, it's really tough to do business, and we feel for you guys. And if you are having a tough time and you just want someone to talk to, give me a call or send me an email at the end of this webinar. I'm happy to chat with anybody in the country, anywhere you are, just to talk through some of the issues you might have or maybe you're having. We've got lots of resources. We've got lots of people who are part of the webinar cafe, the Brainstorm Cafe, who willingly lend a hand and help and give advice when a business owner really needs it. So if you're really feeling tough times, don't hesitate to talk to us. That's what we're here for. And you won't be billed and you won't be charged. So you've got to take advantage of that. Becky, I'm now going to hand it over to you, and you can do an introduction. Just give us a little bit of story about your LinkedIn journey, and then we can get into the nuts and bolts, and you can run the show from now on. And just another thing, if you've got any questions, you can just type them in and we'll look at those questions, and towards the end of the webinar, we'll start offering answers to those questions. However, if we don't get round to answering your question, it will be answered in the next day or two via email. So don't worry, ask a question and we'll always look after you. So Becky, over to you, and welcome to the Brainstorm Cafe.
Hi everyone, thanks for that, Jamie, and thank you for having me here today. I'm very excited to talk to you about my LinkedIn journey. So I am currently a client manager at Mint Design. They are a web design and digital marketing agency based both here in Christchurch and in Auckland. And we are passionate about helping ambitious Kiwi businesses grow. So I'd just like to give you a little bit of a background around my personal journey with LinkedIn. I'm actually a fully qualified chartered accountant. And as at March this year, I was working as a manager in an accounting firm. My LinkedIn profile was pretty underutilized and really neglected. I think I had around 150 connections, and now I'm fairly comfortably sitting in that 500 plus category. So for me, what changed? My move to Mint Design, a firm specializing in digital marketing, I really began to see the potential of LinkedIn. I set aside a bit of time each day, really dedicated that to engaging with my online network. You can see from these lockdowns, it's really great to have those online and digital networking opportunities. I've grown my network. I've learned so much from my fellow LinkedIn users from a huge variety of industries. And I've actually, when we can safely, caught up with some of my virtual networks for in-person coffees, having a chat about what they're up to. Some of these chats have resulted in referrals for work, but others have just really inspired me to try something new or helped identify a new opportunity for me. And so that's why I want to have a talk to you all today about how to start using LinkedIn.
Right. Okay. That's a good introduction. Now, in your preamble or some information I read from you the other day, you said that there's over 2 million people on LinkedIn in this country. That seems an awful lot considering we're only just 5 million people, or just over 5 million people. Are there really 2 million LinkedIn profiles out there?
Yeah, well, you followed up about this stat because I had it in my notes and I double checked, and there are actually multiple sources citing 2.2 million Kiwis on LinkedIn as of last year. And I think that's fantastic. And the other thing to remember is those 2.2 million users, most of them are in decision-making positions within their firm. And so they're the people you want to be engaging with and networking with. It's pretty impressive.
And then you went on to say only 1% of LinkedIn users actively post content. So if you create something, you have a high chance of it getting seen by a wider audience, but only 1% of them are using it.
Yeah, it seems that only approximately 1% of LinkedIn users are actively creating and posting content. So the other great thing about LinkedIn is if you are taking the time and setting it aside to create a little bit of content to demonstrate your expertise, you've got quite a high chance of it being seen by quite a wide variety of users.
Right. Okay. So let's get underway with some of the detail. So what's the best way to get started? Some of the essentials here about setting up your profile and so on. I'm going to let you take over again now and start talking through from the very first thing that you should do. So over to you, Becky.
So one of my first recommendations, if you're in business, is actually to set up your business profile. So I think on our next slide, I've actually got an example of the Mint Design LinkedIn page. So you can just see the flow of the page. You want your business profile to really reflect your brand voice. Make sure you've got your company logo, and then have a banner with an image that's specific to your industry or reflects who you are. So you can see we've got Minty, our little mint leaf, as our logo, and then our Mint Design logo as our banner there. You want to make sure you're filling in as many sections as possible. So completed profiles tend to get twice as many visitors as non-complete ones. And as you can see, you can actually add call to action buttons on your business profiles. So make sure you set these up. As you can see, we've got that little bar saying visit our website. So you can go straight there and interact with us and see our website. And so they're really important to make sure that it's easy for people who've stumbled across your page to get in touch.
Here.
Pardon?
What's
Sorry.
normally behind the more button here? What would you put in behind more?
So you can add other call for actions. So I think one of the key ones that a few people or other businesses have popped up is perhaps a link to a careers page if you're looking actively hiring or employing new staff.
Right. Okay. So just talk us through this overview here that you've got here about you and your company.
Yeah. So with the Mint Design business page, we've filled in quite a detailed overview. We're trying to communicate as much as possible on our page so people can really get a full understanding of what we do. It's effectively your business's EV, so you want to put as much detail in there as possible. And I think you have quite a few characters to play around with there. So don't be afraid to put a lot of detail because people will flick through it. I tend to actually, with LinkedIn, recommend that people avoid general writing conventions. Try and put lots of space. Start a new paragraph where perhaps you wouldn't ordinarily, because it just breaks it up and makes it a little bit nicer to look at visually.
Now, we know that to the audience today, this is not easy to see on the screen because there's a lot of detail. But when you do go into LinkedIn and you start to build your profile, you'll find all these spaces available. Now, just an example, at Mint Design, our expert team specialise in marketing strategy and training, Google Ads, SEO, social media marketing, website design, conversion rate optimization, Google Street View Trusted, and 360 photography, graphic design, logo design, and illustrations. Learn more about our work here. So you can see that Becky's put in a very good profile of the things that they do. Okay, Becky, over to you again. I think the next thing, sorry, I'll just jump in here, was the difference between a personal profile and a business profile. Now, do you need another screen, a slide up here?
Yeah, I think you can flick through. I've got my personal profile that people can just have a quick squiz at to see the layout. As Jamie mentioned, it's a little bit hard to read, but it just gives you a bit of an idea of what your LinkedIn page can look like. I've had a few people ask me whether I recommend doing a personal profile if you also have a business profile or vice versa. And I do recommend setting up both because it gives you an opportunity to engage as both yourself on a topic or then on behalf of your business. So you can actually double dip a little bit and develop trust and relationships in two different spaces. Like with business profiles, your completed personal profile will get more views and messages. And LinkedIn's actually really good. It may look a little bit overwhelming, all the detail that I've got, but LinkedIn, as you start to set up your profile, will track your progress and it'll rank you as a beginner profile all the way through to an all-star profile. And that's really easy to see as you're setting up your profile. So it encourages you to keep moving along to the next steps. Some of the key things that I've got that you should include on your profile is having a profile picture, and you want to make sure this is something from your professional environment that communicates your brand. I don't advise cropping a photo from your social media. Try and have something in that professional setting. LinkedIn will also encourage you to list your skills, and you can see further down on my profile that I've got those. When I was popping my skills into my profile, I realized that Kiwis have a bit of an inferiority complex. We're not great at talking ourselves up, but we're really brilliant at being nice to one another. So my recommendation here is actually get some advice from your friends and colleagues about what to add as your skills. And then as a little added bonus, if they're doing that, get them to endorse you on those skills. So you can opt to endorse people basically saying that you recommend them for certain skills. I think if we move to the next slide, one of the other things with your personal page is you can add a headline. And so your LinkedIn headline will appear alongside your name whenever you engage or comment on LinkedIn. And so it's a really important part of your profile setup. That brief description will appear in a lot of search results. And so you want to make sure that it makes people want to click on your profile and learn a little bit more about you and your background. But you want to be a little bit creative and succinct. Some of the key things we recommend here are making sure it tells people what you do, addresses your audience, and then perhaps indicates how you can help them. So I've popped a few examples in here of some really great headlines. Alice is one of our co-founders at Mint Design. I love hers, Director of Communications. I know what she does, but then also the 4 times Deloitte Fast 50 New Zealand winner. I'm really intrigued. I want to know how she's done that. Tom is quite an avid LinkedIn networker, and he's also got quite an interesting, intriguing headline indicating how he could be helping you. And so you can see how important it is to make sure that you really spend a bit of time developing that headline. Mine's possibly something that I need to do a little bit of work on.
You shouldn't admit that. Becky, next to Tom here, I see a speaker. Now we know that means maybe there's a recording there. Tell us about how that works and how you set it up, and is it effective?
Yeah, so Tom actually has a, if you click on his profile image, it's actually a little video. I personally haven't set this up yet. Because I want to spend a little bit of time thinking about what I would want that to look like and how I would use it. And similar to your profile picture, you want it to probably be in a professional setting. So it's having the opportunity to put that together and put it together quite well. having a good profile picture is probably just as valuable as having that video. I haven't seen too many profiles with the video content yet. So it's one of those things that could be a really great way to stand out if you have the opportunity to do it.
Okay, any more examples here? Is there another slide with the next ones? Okay.
Yeah,
I've talked through these two people too. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, I've popped in another couple. Lizzie is a great copywriter. She has a really catchy headline. And Rob is, I've met him through one of my personal networks, and I really like that he helps people find their money that's trapped. I think that's a really interesting way of summarizing what he does as in a business.
That's a great statement. Look, I'll just read it out. And he says, I find the money trapped in your business and put it back into your bank account. What a great statement that is.
I love it. I've told him before that I've used his headline as a great example, because it just intrigues me. I want my money that is trapped. I want it back in my bank account. And so I think that's a really unique way of writing his headline and capturing that attention.
Excellent. All right. So we've built up the profile. You've got a company business profile. You've got a personal profile. Then what happens after that?
Yeah. So once you've got your profile set up, it's time to start expanding your network and get connecting. LinkedIn will suggest people you may know based on current connections. But you can also, if you're new to LinkedIn, actually import your email contact list and go through and choose who you would like to connect to. There's no limits on who you should connect with. I recommend if you follow somebody's blog, connect with them on LinkedIn. If you used to work with somebody or for them, connect with them on LinkedIn, keep that relationship going. If you have a dream company you really want to start working with or continue working with, start connecting and interacting with people from that company. If you're looking for new work opportunities or want to be generating leads, accept any and all new connection requests with a slight minor reservation around those that look suspiciously spammy. The best time for me to connect with people is shortly after meeting them, either virtually or in person. My top tip for connecting is to connect with people on LinkedIn after meeting them at an event. Send them a personalized message if they said anything interesting, or if you found you had something in common. I really like this because later on, when you're wondering how or why you were connected with somebody, you've got that conversation showing how you met them or where you met them and what maybe was a key tidbit about them that you remembered. If I've listened to a presenter, I really like to reach out to them after the talk, connect with them on LinkedIn, thank them for their presentation, perhaps talk about one of my key takeaways, or give them some feedback. So my challenge or homework for today is to put connecting into practice. And I ask you to send me a connection invite after this session. Feel free to give me some constructive feedback on what you've learned, ask me a question, or if you want any further explanation on anything. That way, you've got a new connection, and then you've got a reminder in your messaging of how you actually became connected to me. The other thing to note is the number of connections you have on LinkedIn can actually affect your search ranking. So when people are trying to find you, so you want to make sure you've got at least 50 first degree connections, sort of as a bit of a minimum.
Okay. Now I'll get a message in from Natalie here. The audio icon in Tom's profile is a feature that allows users to record the correct pronunciation of their names. So,
fantastic.
I think with Tom, you see his surname and you could put the emphasis on the V or the T or whatever and come up with different pronunciations. So thanks, Natalie, for just making that clear to us. So
that's
if we clicked
great.
on Rob, he would tell us how to say his name, which is all very handy.
Yeah,
thanks, Natalie, for bringing that in.
Incredibly handy.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, Becky. Keep going. Where were you up to? Talking about content and what to put on.
Yeah, So I suppose once you've got your profile set up, the next thing you want to do is start creating a bit of content to put on your page. And so LinkedIn's full of professionals looking to grow and develop and share their knowledge. And so posting or creating posts is a really great way to contribute and then also highlight your expertise. I recommend trying to post regularly. As we mentioned before, only a really small percentage of active LinkedIn users post regularly. So your content that you put out there is bound to get quite an impressive reach. I recommend putting a small but productive amount of time on a bit of a consistent basis, updating and maintaining your network and your profile, which includes commenting on others' posts, reading articles, adding new connections. The key idea around posting isn't to sell, but to get engagement from your network and then help build your business and personal brand awareness.
Becky, I think that's a very something we should explore, the difference between maybe Facebook and LinkedIn, whereas Facebook, there's a lot of hard selling and hard marketing going on there, whereas from my experience with LinkedIn nowhere near where yours is, it's a lot softer selling. The spruiking, if we can call it that, is at a lot lower level, and it's more information and knowledge sharing and profile building of yourself and the company. Is that a fair description between the difference of profiling on Facebook and profiling on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary. I think with LinkedIn, the people that are using LinkedIn are they're using it for business purposes. They're on there with a point and a purpose. They want to meet new people. They want to support new people and engage and expand their network. Whereas Facebook, you tend to get a few more of those keyboard warriors who are happy to give an opinion and not really improve or expand or develop networks. So I really enjoy LinkedIn as its use in a professional environment for those reasons.
I've got a question in from Barbara Lee. What's a first degree connection?
Oh, great question. So a first degree connection is somebody that you have connected with and they've accepted your connection request. So a first degree connection is somebody that you are connected with on your network. LinkedIn also does second degree connections, and looking at whether somebody is a second degree connection is a really good way to meet them, because a second degree connection means that you have a connection in common. So you can use that as a little bit of leverage. I personally, if I see that somebody is a second degree connection, feel instantly a little bit more trust because they know X who knows me. Your third degree connections are people that you have absolutely no connections in common with. And so they are completely outside of your network and your network's network. So it's quite a unique way of looking at how you may know somebody. And it's good to explore those connections in common with your second degree connections, because you can use those as a way to expand your network.
Right. Now we're going to have just a brief poll so we can get an understanding of the audience's experience with LinkedIn. And there's a poll here that we're going to bring up on the screen, and all you need to do is answer one of three questions. I've never used LinkedIn, or I underuse LinkedIn, or I use LinkedIn a lot. Now, is that poll visible now, Oliver? And where is it? Just under the right. Okay, so your bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you can just click on that and give us an answer so we get a better understanding of your experience with LinkedIn to date. Sorry, Becky, just keep rolling along there. I think one of the next things is any tips on what to post to get started?
Yeah, so when you're posting on LinkedIn, you probably want to try and inspire a little bit of interest off the bat, so that people know or are intrigued as to read the rest of your post. As I mentioned earlier, throw away a few of those writing conventions that you know from high school. Do a few spaces in between paragraphs. You actually want people to be clicking on that see more button. Some ideas of different things you can post. Share an article or some research that's left you with some thoughts or comments. Put your little spiel on it. Why has this interested you? Why do you feel you need to share this with your network? what are some flaws or criticisms you might have, but being constructive and positive if you can. A personal story or case study, what happened to you, what did you learn, what mistakes did you make? I like to occasionally see people post about professional wins and add that personal element. Don't be afraid to do a bit of a humble brag. Kiwis are pretty terrible at that, but I think it's a good thing to do. And it will give your
a humble brag.
A humble brag.
Oh, I love that.
It's where you talk about some of your successes, but in a humble way. And I think it's a great way to give your network an opportunity to show some support for you. Kiwis love being supportive, but we're so bad at tooting our own horn with a few things. And I think sometimes wins and positive experiences should be shared rather than just focusing on the negatives.
I think that's what we all need at the moment is a lot of positive encouragement and endorsement from other businesses that you're doing work with. Very much needed in this lockdown era.
Yeah, agreed. And LinkedIn is, as I've mentioned before, a really positive professional environment. So sometimes it's great to get that little confidence boost you need on there. Some other ideas for posts. Ask your virtual network for recommendations. Are you looking to work with somebody, looking to do some training? Ask them for recommendations. Word of mouth is a great way to get some referrals. People also love giving their opinion, so give them the opportunity to do that. You actually might find yourself getting tagged as a referral as well, which is really cool. Lists are well liked on LinkedIn and are quite a concise way of getting your point across. You can pop up a poll like Jamie's doing right now. But once you've popped up your post, make sure you then go and engage and respond with any comments that are made on your post. You want to try and keep that conversation going. And if the conversation gets good, message them, take it offline. And that's where you can perhaps tee up a conversation in real life and continue that conversation in person. I really recommend trying some different formats of posts. My post with the most views at the moment was musings around the use of timesheets in an accounting firm and what could happen if we got rid of them entirely. So I had some nice comments and feedback on there and generated a little bit of discussion, which is what my intention was. I recommend trying lots of different types of posts, work your way through the ones I've suggested and see which type perhaps gets the most engagement for you or what works for you and your style of writing.
Now, on LinkedIn, if anyone's used LinkedIn, you'll see that there's a promotion run by LinkedIn to upgrade to a professional level and they take money from you. Now, Becky, what's your advice about upgrading from the free version of LinkedIn to the paid version of LinkedIn? What's the benefit? What are the differences? And is the cost really worth the investment?
Yeah, so we touched on this when we caught up last time. I actually recommend sticking with the free version. If you pay and upgrade your LinkedIn, that money goes overseas to LinkedIn. It's not staying in New Zealand, and I'm very pro supporting New Zealand businesses. As you upgrade your plans, LinkedIn has, I think, 4 or 5 different options. You get more functionality, but they're enticing you to pay for stuff and enter into another subscription that you don't perhaps necessarily need. You can use the free LinkedIn really well. As I say, only 1% are actually regularly posting and generating content. So you can generate a lot of brand awareness without stepping up and paying for a subscription. You can also get some free trials. So give it a whirl for a month, see if you like it. And if you use it and can justify it as a method of generating leads, go for it. But I think your money can probably use more efficiently in other marketing efforts and perhaps on other marketing platforms.
All right. Now, the next area is about hashtags and tagging. What is a hashtag and what is tagging? It sounds all a bit agricultural to me, but maybe you need to explain what hashtags and tagging is all about.
Yeah, so when you actually set up your profile, either your business or your personal, one of the things LinkedIn will do is suggest that you follow some hashtags. And the reason they do this is hashtags are a way of categorizing posts or content. And so I suggest following a few hashtags of interest, because then you're more likely to see those posts in your feed. So for example, I like to follow things such as hashtag New Zealand, hashtag entrepreneur, hashtag personal development, because those are the types of posts I enjoy seeing. So on the flip side, when you are generating or creating content, you want to add about 3 to 5 hashtags that summarize what your post is about. So you can see I put up my colleague Simon. He's done a few hashtags in his post. He's also gone through and tagged a few different people. And so you can tag fellow LinkedIn connections on your posts. So Simon has tagged in his fellow presenters. And this presentation he was doing was actually for the Chamber of Commerce. So he's tagged their account as well. And so that's a really great way to leverage off other platforms, because if you tag somebody, your post is then going to be seen by their wider audiences. And so if you're at a venue or an event, it's a really good idea to tag those people, because then you'll be seen by their audiences and you can really increase that exposure for your post.
Do you need to seek permission from people that you want to tag before you publicize your connection with them?
I like to. I think it's a nice way. I like to reach out to them if I'm not perhaps already connected with them, and just send them a little message, say, this is the photo I'm looking at putting up. Are you happy to basically be associated with this post? Just to make sure that it's something that they're comfortable with. Generally, if they're presenting, surely they're quite happy. They just might want to check that it's not an incredibly unflattering photo, or that the content doesn't reflect their views on the topic.
Right, okay. Now, we are coming to the end of our presentation today. Is there anything else you want to wrap it up with, Becky? And I'll just put a call out. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen, please go to the poll. 1 of 3 questions to answer. Are you new to LinkedIn or never used it? You've underused it, or you use it well? Just tick one of those 3 boxes. Have we got a result on yet, Oliver? What's it looking like? Look at that, 72% of those who have answered said they underuse LinkedIn.
Brilliant.
So you're at the right place at the right time, Becky, especially during a lockdown, to be able to share this knowledge and information. Now, you made a comment to me when we were talking about this last week, that if you have anyone in the audience here who wants some help and advice, please contact you directly. You're happy to do that. So
yeah, of course.
When we send out the replay, we'll put your contact details there, so anyone can come through and you can hold their hands through the profile building process. And if there any other questions you want to ask now, just put them on the screen and we'll wrap them up. And as I said at the beginning here, we know that a lot of businesses out there are really doing it tough. A few are booming, but they are in the minority. Some are just treading water and getting through. Others are really finding a tough time. And the Brainstorm Cafe is here to help those struggling businesses. So look, please give me an email or send me a text, or just phone me 0274 337 280. I'll be happy to chat. We don't have all the answers, but we've got such a wide network that often we find someone and say, that's the perfect person for me. Thank you, Jamie. I was glad to talk to that person who gave me a helping hand all the way through. So please take advantage of that offer. We know it's pretty tough out there for a lot of you, and we support you. But back to Becky. Becky, this has been a wonderful but simple presentation. You haven't overcomplicated it. I know some of the slides have been a little bit difficult to read. However, when you get the replay, you'll be able to freeze frame them, or if you go onto LinkedIn, you'll start to see how the LinkedIn page is built up. So thank you everyone for coming. A special thank you for Becky. Becky, would you like to just wrap up and summarize last minute of the webinar, what you think about LinkedIn, what it's meant to you, and your what you think every business owner should use LinkedIn for.
Yeah, thank you for having me today, and thank you so much for everybody who's watched. I really appreciate. Yeah, I think one of the key takeaways for LinkedIn is it's a really good way that you can showcase your experiences, your brand voice, and really begin to develop some great networks. One thing I think that we didn't touch on is you can join groups. So you can start to find groups of similarly interested people within your industry and just really really start to share that knowledge and challenge your ideas and identify a few new opportunities. So I think it's a really great positive platform that you can really utilize well if you put a little bit of time and effort into it.
Thank you, Becky. And to summarize, I think that no matter how slick we get with online branding and marketing and online shopping, we still are humans and we still like to do business with other people. People do business with people rather than businesses to business. Even though it's B2B, we still like to do business with people we like, we know, and we understand. So LinkedIn is a perfect platform for that. Okay, thank you again, Becky, and thanks everyone for joining in. Don't forget to call me or email if you're a bit down and a bit grumpy. I might be able to help. Thanks everyone today. It's been wonderful.